Hello, good afternoon. I think we'll wait for a couple of moments to see if any more people join, and otherwise I will start in shortly. I'm gonna go ahead and start the webinar. Okay. So first off, I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Kilian. I'm a customer support officer at Flexmail, and some of you may know me already because together with my colleagues Brenda and Senna, we answer your support questions, and yeah, you might have heard my name there. In today's webinar, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about automating your actions between Flexmail and other applications via Zapier. And so pay close attention, put any distractions aside, and if you have any questions, you can always use the chat function on the right-hand side. My colleague Girbeau is going to answer the questions during the webinar, and then if I have some time left at the end of the webinar, I'm going to answer the remaining questions via the chat. So I'm gonna start at the start. What actually is Zapier? Zapier is a service you can use to connect applications with each other and automate various tasks, so that your team has more time to spend on their core tasks. More specifically, it can help you keep your customer information up to date throughout Flexmail and other platforms, and this will save you time and reduce the risk of human error. With Zapier, you can integrate your other apps and you can tell Zapier what you want to achieve. And fortunately, Zapier manages the integration and the operation, so there's no need to start coding or employ developers to keep everything working smoothly. You can consider it a way to build workflows and perform tasks automatically. And let's say, for example, you manage your contacts in Google Contacts. Then you can use Zapier to transfer those contacts automatically to your Flexmail account. You undoubtedly use various programs, such as an email marketing platform like Flexmail and a CRM system for your customer management or social media channels, etc. All these programs are independent from each other, and every day you need to switch multiple times between those programs to keep everything on all the platforms up to date. And this is where Zapier comes in. It can, in this way, you can conveniently connect all those programs, synchronize all of them together, so there's no need anymore for switching between them. This will save you a lot of time. You can spend this time on other tasks, and this will increase the productivity. Like I said, you can make a connection between multiple programs. You can automate actions, and this way, manual actions are a thing of the past. You set a trigger and determine which action should take place if the event is triggered. And you don't need any complicated code, no expensive programming or developers to make the connection. By using automation via Zapier, the risk of making errors will be reduced because many of your tasks no longer need to be performed manually. And this also leads to less work, more time, and the quality of your work is increased. Some time ago, Zapier did some research. They asked 2,000 marketeers which apps they use most. You can see the results on this diagram. The email marketing platform is a tool that is used the most often. Next are spreadsheets and databases. Then task management, project management apps, and finally a CRM system. Combining these, all of these different apps, of course, would save you a lot of time. So I'm going to explain it with these images, this one and the next slide. Your CRM is a central place where you can save information that gives you more context about your customer relations. But on your email marketing platform, you can find some useful information about your contacts as well, such as your contact's interests, as is a feature in Flexmail. Also, you shouldn't forget your customer support apps. I am in customer service myself, and I know that we get a lot of information. We have a lot of knowledge about what customers want and need. And if you can combine the effort of all these different sources, then you get the best result. So in this slide, everything is separate, no connections, and in this one there is an integration which is made with Zapier. Obviously, you can do all email marketing without a CRM, but if you combine the power of the two platforms, your communication will be much more powerful. And by combining the data smartly, you can put the strengths of each platform to optimal use, and you can send the right messages when your recipients really need it, and you can respond quickly and accurately to the right data. Everything starts with your data. Your marketing apps may be very strong individually, but they become really useful if you use them together. And this takes us to our integration, with Zapier, which we have looked forward to for a long time, and we are very excited to announce this the possibility to integrate your Flexmail account with Zapier. Simple way to make a connection between Flexmail and over 5,000 other applications with the help of Zapier. That's what we are going for. We've already mentioned the benefits and why setting up a connection with Zapier is recommended, but for which tasks exactly can you use this connection? This could be for sending messages to leads and customers, for sending your team information about your project, for synchronizing data, and for updating appointments, meetings, events. Now that you know why connection may come in handy, we're going to take a closer look at Zapier and how you can set up the connection. And to start off, we will have to talk terminology, Zapier terminology. At first, it might seem a little bit confusing. So I'm going to give you some more information about the terms that are used in in Zapier. Sorry. It may be a little bit non-traditional, but I'm going to start by explaining what a zap is, and then I'll follow up with the trigger and action. So a zap is an automated workflow between your applications. You can compare it with a full process. In the example above, the zap would be the entire workflow of converting a Google contact to a Flexmail contact. And to do this, it starts with a trigger. A trigger is an event in a part of the software, in this case, Google Contacts, that starts a workflow or a zap. It's important here that Zapier is always actively looking for those triggers when you create and activate the zap. So in this example, Zapier will continuously be looking for a new contact in your Google Contacts. Then when it finds a new record, it will go over to the action, which in this example is the send me an email. So the action is what happens when Zapier finds a trigger, and it will send the Google contact that is found to Flexmail in this example. The fourth new term is a task. A Zapier task is information for you and Zapier. So Zapier keeps a log on how often your zap has been performed, and every time the zap is performed, the task counter goes up by 1. So if you add 10 contacts to Google Contacts, Zapier will add 10 contacts to Flexmail, and then this will be counted in Zapier as 10 tasks. Make sure to take this into account because the amount of tasks determines which subscription you should use when you get a Zapier subscription. If you want more information about Zapier and its terminology, it's always best to check out their knowledge center, which I see now. Meer info means more info on the link in the slide. So now that we know which words are used and what everything is in Zapier, it's time to make a connection between Zapier and Flexmail. And I'm going to explain step by step in the following slides how you can make this connection. So what do you need? Of course, you will need a Flexmail account because we're going to work with Flexmail. When you create or when your account was created in Flexmail, you automatically got an account ID. This can be found in the settings of your account, and next you will also have to enter a personal access token, specifically in an API access token. To make the connection to Zapier, you also need a Zapier account. So a Flexmail account and a Zapier account. Just to be sure, I'm going to explain where the personal access token can be made in Flexmail or can be found. When you go into your settings under the personal access token tab, you can click to create a new token. It's important that you save this token somewhere safe, because after it is created and after you view it for the first time, you will not be able to see it anymore in Flexmail. It will say that there is a token with the name you gave it, but you cannot see the actual token. So make sure to save it somewhere safe, and this way you don't lose it. And also the account ID can be found also in the settings of your Flexmail account under the Profile tab. Next, in Zapier, you can now easily add your account ID and personal access token to make the connection with Flexmail. It's important that you use the account ID has to be in a format without the letter and the dash and the leading zeros. So only start by using the first non-zero number of your account ID. So once a connection with Flexmail and Zapier has been made, it's time to make your first zap. In the following slides, I'm going to show you how to do this, and we are going to use Google Contacts as the example. So when you're logged in to Zapier, you can click on the orange Create Zap button that you can see in the top left of the screen. And you will be prompted to make or choose a trigger. So the trigger, to go back, the trigger is the event that will start your zap. That will Zapier will be looking for this trigger, and once it's found, it will perform the rest of the action. So you choose a trigger. In this case, we chose the trigger new or updated contact in Google Contacts. So the zap will be triggered as soon as a new contact is added to Google Contacts or a existing contact is edited. Next, you click Continue, and it will ask you to log in to your Google account. So of course, Zapier has to be sure that you are using your own Google Contacts account and you're not taking information from somewhere else. So you will be asked to sign in. Once you're signed in, it will test the trigger to make sure that everything is working properly. And after the test is successfully passed, it will take you to the next screen where you have to choose the action which will be done. Here you choose Flexmail as a program where the action has to be made. And we choose for the event, create or update a contact. So this is a trigger. Once a new contact is added or updated in Google Contacts, it will go to Flexmail and create or update the same contact. So it will create the contact, and if it's already there, just change with an update it with new information that was added to Google Contacts. If you're not yet logged into Flexmail, like I explained a couple of steps ago, then you will be asked to log in here, make the connection here. This is the same as I said before. You need an account ID and a personal access token, and then you can connect your Flexmail account. And once you have logged in, you can set up the action further. So because we are updating or adding a new contact, it needs to know what fields or information from Google Contacts you want to add to the Flexmail fields. And this works roughly the same as a file import in Flexmail. So first off, in this example, you can see the email. It has to be linked to the emails information field. First name to name, and etc. etc. Language, source. This works very intuitively. And once you have set up everything correctly, you can publish this app. This may take some time depending on the settings of your Zap, but it should only take a few moments. And then your Zap is ready. You have successfully set up your first Zap. The Zap is shown in the overview and it will be active from now on. You can see on the right of the screenshot that it says running on. You can also deactivate a Zap, but this one is on. So as soon as a Google contact is added or updated, it will now also be added or updated in Flexmail. So now you've seen how easy it is to set up a Zap. It only takes a few simple steps to set up a connection, and the triggers and actions you can set up with a Zap, they depend on the app itself, and it's all described on the Zapier website. But since we are using Flexmail, I'm going to talk about the different triggers that are available in Flexmail or are available in Zapier for the Flexmail connection. So the triggers, the actions that Zapier is looking for to trigger a Zap in Flexmail are contact created, which is when a new contact is added to Flexmail. Contact updated is when contact is edited. Contact unsubscribes from an interest. Well, that speaks for itself. Or contact is unsubscribed from your mailing list. A contact subscribed to interest, the opposite of unsubscribed from interest. So when it is added to an interest, and the opt-in confirmation is when a contact confirms their opt-in in Flexmail. So when you have an opt-in form, when the contact enters the opt-in form and confirms their subscription, it will be, you can pass on this information. So those are all the Flexmail triggers. Now we'll go to the actions in Flexmail. These are the actions that are completed when another trigger is triggered, or when another event is triggered. So the Flexmail actions are create or update contact. This is the one we used in the example with Google Contacts. So a new Google contact was added, and then the contact is also added or updated in Flexmail. You can unsubscribe a contact. You can subscribe a contact to an interest, or unsubscribe a contact from an interest. Then there is the option to find a contact. This one may be a bit confusing in aspect of what it does exactly, but the idea is that it's useful for conditional parameters when you need to make sure that a contact already exists or not. The find or create a contact is the same. You can check if a contact exists, but in the case that the contact does not yet exist, it will be created so that you are not trying to do some action with a contact that's non-existent. So those are the triggers and actions that can be chosen for Flexmail in Zapier. And to make this clearer, I am going to give a few examples on how to get started immediately with the use of these triggers and actions. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Team Leader. This is a CRM system that is used quite often. We at Flexmail, we also use Team Leader. So that is why we chose this example. First of all, the Team Leader CRM system is used to save contact data, and we want to make the connection with Flexmail in this case to use the data we have in Team Leader in our Flexmail application. By linking your team leader data, you can do the following things. You can set up personalized email campaigns and automation flows with segmentation data from team leader. You can set upsell campaigns based on a product group once a deal has been reached with one of your team leader contacts. You can view recent data in every app and update an email list. It's also used to avoid duplicate contacts, recover data silos between teams, and avoid these in the future. And also to improve conversions, because your marketing team can give your sales team the optimal support this way. So some specific Zap examples. In this case, we are using Team Leader for the trigger. We choose the trigger new contact. So when a new contact is added in Team Leader, this Zap is going to make sure that the contact is also added in Flexmail. So the action is create or update contact in Flexmail. And this way, the contacts are in your Team Leader are the same as the contacts in your Flexmail account. This, of course, also works the other way around. Imagine that you have placed an opt-in form on your website, Flexmail opt-in form that is. Then a contact subscribes to it and confirms the double opt-in. So they receive an email, they confirm their subscription. Obviously, you also want this contact to be added in Team Leader. And with Zapier, this happens automatically. You can create a Zap like this one in the example, in which you say that a new contact will be created in Team Leader when a contact confirms an opt-in. This avoids the manual work of importing and exporting, and you have more time for other things. So the second example, Flexmail Webinar Geek. Of course, it's not only possible to link a CRM system, but you can also connect a platform like Webinar Geek. If you often make or give webinars, you'll probably know Webinar Geek. At the moment, I'm using Webinar Geek, and we're also going to show an example of connecting this with your Flexmail account. So in case you make webinars, for this purpose, you can create invitations and confirmations emails. And afterwards, you can also, for example, include the replay and send those to the attendees of the webinar. It saves a lot of time if you can send subscriptions to Flexmail automatically. So people who signed up for your webinar, add them to Flexmail and send your campaigns in this way. This is possible if you make a Zapier connection between Flexmail and Webinar Geek. And by linking the two, you can do any of the following actions or things. You can set up personalized email campaigns and automation flows for invitations to a webinar. You can send contacts a confirmation email with a personalized link after they have subscribed to a webinar. You can also include replays of your webinars or send a survey to the attendees of the webinar afterwards to know if everything went well, if there were any more questions or whatever. And it's also possible to add interest to your contact if they want to view more of your webinars. So if someone has attended the webinar, you give them the webinar interest in Flexmail, and this way you can send them more invitations for future webinars. Some examples of zaps between Webinar Geek and Flexmail could be that when you get a new registration in Webinar Geek, you can use Zapier to add an interest to the contact in Flexmail automatically. So this way you can segment your contacts in Flexmail to send targeted campaigns to those contacts about your next webinars or about a survey for the webinar that was just completed or just finished. Other way around is also possible here. Say you've created interests for contacts who are interested in taking a webinar or even a series of webinars. You give them the interest in Flexmail. Then Zapier sees the contact is subscribed to an interest in Flexmail, and Zapier will ensure that those contacts are automatically registered for a specific webinar or a series of webinars. So you can see the action in Webinar Geek is subscribed to a single webinar or to a series of webinars. This way, the contacts who are interested in webinars don't even have to subscribe themselves anymore, if they wish, of course. And the final example is Flexmail Shopify connection. Say you have a web shop and you want to send your buyers personalized content about offers or the follow-up to their order. This is possible if you make a Zapier connection between Flexmail and Shopify. By linking those two platforms, you can set up personalized email campaigns and automation flows for the various emails you want to send during or after the purchase. You can send contacts a confirmation email after they buy something. After they made a purchase, you can send them data about the purchase. You can send contacts a survey and ask them whether they are satisfied with the products after the product has been delivered. And you can even add interests to your contacts if they want to receive information about other products, maybe products they have bought in the past, the same product category. Also, I'll give a few examples here of zaps that can be made. In this case, a new customer is added to your Shopify account, or the customer has made a new purchase in your Shopify account. And in this case, you also want to add the contact or update it in your Flexmail account. After adding the contact, you can have a Flexmail workflow that starts automatically to send, for example, a welcome email, or you can go further, create a more elaborate workflow, and do an entire onboarding series. Or you can send the new contact campaigns with product information about the purchased products or about the product category of the product that was purchased. You can, of course, entirely decide yourself what you want to send and when you want to send it. But this can be done all automatically. So the Zapier connection ensures that your contacts from Shopify, excuse me, end up in Flexmail, and then the workflow in Flexmail automatically sends them all of the information that is needed. So this way, a contact that is added to Shopify will receive an entire email onboarding series without you having to perform any more manual actions after you have set up this entire workflow. And of course, it's not only Shopify or Team Leader or Webinar Geek that you can connect to your Flexmail account using Zapier. There are more than 5,000 different apps you can connect with Flexmail through Zapier. Some more examples would be Slack. You can send a notification, for example, to your sales team when a new contact is created in Flexmail. You can use it to connect to Facebook ads leads. You can also create Flexmail contacts based on Google form responses, and also add Flexmail interests to a visitor from Eventbrite. Those are just a few examples. Like I said, you can find a lot more different possibilities or different apps in on the website of Zapier or on the link that Gilbo just posted in the chat. So, like I said, more than 5,000 apps. The possibilities are almost endless. You can link Flexmail to virtually any platform that has joined Zapier. So check out the link and to make sure that the programs that you are using can also be connected through Zapier. So that is it for the presentation and for the webinar at the moment. I see that a couple of questions were already answered in chat by I see that one more question that Laurens has asked is, can we trigger a workflow using Zapier? For example, if someone requests a white paper on our website and provides an email address, can we then use Zapier and Flexmail to send them a follow-up mail 1 week later? Yes, this should be possible if you can create a trigger that sends the contact to Flexmail via Zapier, then you can make a trigger a Flexmail workflow to send them a follow-up email 1 week later. This should be possible for sure. If you can try it out, try to trigger it, and if there's still a problem with the workflow on Flexmail itself, you can always send an email to customer support so that I can take a look at it and help you on that part as well. So if there's any more questions, still please ask them in the. When Laurens asks, when will this be available? Zapier is already up and running. You can already create a Zapier account and connect it with Flexmail from this moment. It was already up for some more time, but please go ahead and do it right now if you want. And I see that the light has gone out, but I think unless there are any other questions, I'd like to thank everyone a lot for attending. If you come up with any other questions after the webinar, you can always send them to customer support at flexmail or support at flexmail.be or EU, and we will be happy to answer them there. Thank you very much for attending, and see you next time. Bye.